Hello everyone, welcome back to Simulacra. I'm Bryson, and this is session 3 of building a decentralized application. In the first two sessions, we went over all things system design, and today, in this session, we are building. So we're going to go through any tools, toolkits, libraries, databases that I'm using, languages that I'll be using, and we'll start building the overall services for this application. We're going to really get into the weeds and start building this app. So I hope you stay tuned. I hope you learn a lot. I know I will. Enjoy session 3. The AI editor that we're going to be using for this project is going to be Cursor. Cursor is a really, really good IDE and AI code editor that makes developing applications, web applications, really seamless and really easy. So all you have to do is go to cursor.com and then download. I'm on a Mac, so it's telling me to download for my Mac. We'll download and install Cursor on as an application, and then we'll move to the Cursor application. So this is what the Cursor application looks like. You can clone a repo, connect via SSH, or open a project. We're just going to be opening a project. As you can see, I've already created a project community pool in my GitHub projects on my actual device on my Mac. So we're going to open up our project and get started. When thinking about developing this application, I wanted to make sure that I was using a good developing environment that would help me develop a very robust and secure app, but would also allow me flexibility and speed with development. And so right now we are in Cursor, and I'm sure all of you have heard of Cursor, but if you had not, it is basically a AI agent coding editor that helps you develop applications, debug things, plan out development at a very, very high speed. So right now what we're doing is I have created a folder for my repository on my local repository. And then I have also created a GitHub repository named community pool. And I am checking that we can push any changes up to our actual GitHub repo from our local repo. So right now, Cursor is taking me through a plan to make sure that the local repository can be pushed up to GitHub so that all of our changes can be seen by the public, because this application will be hosted on GitHub, the source code and everything will be hosted there. So I think this plan is good to go. Right here, I am just telling the agent that, okay, I understand and agree with this plan. So we will test to see if we can start pushing our changes up to GitHub. Okay, so our agent did a couple of things to make sure that we can push and commit to a GitHub repository. So first, it created a dedicated repository in that community pool folder. And then it verified that committing works. It then attempted to push, and this push failed. And the reason it failed was that we had an invalid username or token. Password authentication is not supported for Git operations. So basically down here, that means that we do not have a personal access token. And basically a personal access token is just a token that ensures that your repository is suitable for personal API use and for using GitHub over HTTPS. So what we need to do is we need to come to GitHub and generate a fine-grained token for our repository. So all I did was come to GitHub and I went to settings, and then under settings, I went to developer settings, and then down to personal access tokens, fine-grained tokens. And so I'm going to generate a personal access token. So I'm just going to name it community pool, since that is our project name. I don't need to give it a description right now. I set the expiration date to 60. You don't want to set an expiration to no expiration, because as you can see, you want to make sure that your information remains secure. So you want to actually set an expiration day. I'm just going to go with 60 days. Also, you want to make sure to only select the repository that you want to generate the personal access token for. You don't really want to have a personal access token that has access to all of their repositories. That's a pretty big security risk. So you can think of, we can keep the blast radius very small if something happens and our personal access token gets leaked for some reason. So we're going to generate that token. And then once we generate this token, we will be able to use this immediately, and it will expire on Sunday the 26th. So once we get our token from GitHub, we can just come back to Cursor and perform a normal git push command. We will be prompted to insert our personal access token, and then after that, we should be able to push all of our local changes up to our GitHub repo so that everyone can publicly view all of our changes that we've made. So it looks like in my normal terminal, I'm actually having problems using this HTTPS with a personal access token. So I'm just going to use SSH instead, and hopefully that will definitely solve the problem. So SSH didn't work because we need to create a new SSH key. We'll then add this key inside of our terminal to an actual pathway, and then we'll actually add the key to GitHub also. And so the way you add a key to GitHub is that you go to your GitHub, and then you go to settings, you go to SSH and GPG keys, and then you will add a new SSH key, give it a title, you'll add in the key, and then you'll press add SSH key. Okay, so I added my key to GitHub. I tested and pushed again, and I got and successfully authenticated in my actual terminal. So that is very good to go. And then now that I have changed into that directory for community pool, and then again push the origin connection test, I am seeing in my terminal that I can now create requests to push this project up to my online repo. So I think we're good to go in terms of now starting to actually generate our services now that we can push our changes up to GitHub. And now for the last part of our setup, setting up our IDE, we want to add some extensions. And some of these extensions are going to help us develop faster and more efficiently and with better format. So we're going to add a few language support extensions such as the Solidity formatter, a Rust analyzer, and a Go developer. And these are going to help us with code completion, imports insertion. They're going to help us with semantic syntax highlighting and essentially formatting our languages that we will be programming in. So one of the first extensions that I want to use is a Solidity formatter. So we'll just type in Solidity format over here, and this first one by Nomic Foundation is the one we're looking for. We're going to open that, make sure that it is by hardhat.org. Cool, we're downloading the right one. Let's install that. Trust Publisher and install. All right, so cool, we have our Solidity formatter installed. And so our Solidity formatter is basically going to take all of our code that is written in Solidity and format it in a way that the compiler can read. And so next, let's add the extension for a Rust analyzer, and we're going to do the same thing as we're doing with Solidity, but with Rust. So let's see if we have a good Rust analyzer. I want to use this one right here, rustlang.org. And basically, this provides support for the Rust programming language. It allows code completion, definition, implementation type, references, semantic syntax highlighting, and a host of other features. Add this Rust analyzer and install. And we're going to trust the publisher and install. So now that this is installed, let's install our last program language formatter. And this is going to be an extension for Go. And we're going to use the Go Lang development support for Visual Studio Code. And it's going to do all the things that the Solidity formatter and the Rust analyzer is doing also, and it's going to make programming with Go way easier and more efficient. So let's install this also. Again, we're going to trust the publisher and install. Boom. So we have all of our language coding and language programming support extensions installed. And so also what we're going to install is a better TOML to be better formatted for our Foundry TOMLs. And this is going to help us when our code needs to be easy to be read and written with obvious and straightforward syntax. And so a TOML extension helps us with this. So I'm going to look for a TOML extension over here. And usually when I'm wanting to install extensions, I look for the extension that has the highest number of uses or installs or downloads, and then also the rating next to it. So we have two even better TOML down here, and then we have better TOML right here by Bungie C, and then Nama Safi. So I'm going to go with the even better TOML right here. It looks like it has a lot of downloads and a decent rating. So let's add this so our TOML files are better formatted. And again, we're going to trust the publisher and install. And then lastly, we want to make sure they install the extensions for our actual AI code editors. So we're going to use Claude by Anthropic to help us edit and code our app. So let's install here, Claude Code for VS Code, and I believe I'll have to sign in using my Claude Pro Max account. And again, we're going to trust the publisher and install. And so now we'll wait for Claude to install, and it will likely ask me to sign in. All right, so now that Claude Code is installed, once we start coding, actually in the terminal below, down here, Claude will request that I put in my password and username to start using the Pro features. I think that is everything we can do in terms of setting up our IDE. We're using Cursor as our actual IDE, and then inside of Cursor, we are using the Claude Code extension to write our code. And so with that, all of our extensions are good to go. Our IDE is good to go, and we have made sure that we can push all of our changes up to our Git profile so that everybody in public can see. And so that's the setup. I hope you guys enjoyed session 3 of building a decentralized application. If you have any questions about setting up an IDE, what tools to use, and so on, make sure to comment down below. And in next session, we're going to get into some programming and building this application and all of the services that we can then tie together and put out a full product that we can deploy. So I hope everyone enjoyed. I'm Bryson, and you're watching Simulacra. Bye, everyone.